Hello and welcome. I'm excited to have you here as we dive into the success stories of self-made millionaires and uncover the strategies they use to build their wealth. If you've ever dreamed of financial freedom, starting your own business, or simply learning how the richest people think, then this audiobook is for you. Success leaves clues, and in this book, we'll explore the journeys of those who started from nothing and built empires. We'll break down their mindset, business strategies, and financial habits so you can apply them to your own life. Whether you're an entrepreneur, an investor, or just someone hungry for success, you'll find valuable lessons that can help you on your journey. But before we dive in, I have one small request. If you find this content helpful, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss new success stories and business insights. Your support helps us continue creating valuable content for people just like you. Now, let's get started and learn from the richest. Chapter 1. The Relentless Visionary, the story of Elon Musk. Success is rarely the result of luck. It's built on relentless vision, risk-taking, and an unstoppable drive to push boundaries. Few people embody these traits better than Elon Musk, a man who has revolutionized multiple industries and redefined what's possible. Today, he's known as the billionaire founder of Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and The Boring Company. But Musk's journey wasn't an easy one. From being bullied as a child to nearly going bankrupt in his 30s, his story is proof that the greatest successes often come after the greatest struggles. Elon Musk was born in Pretoria, South Africa in 1971. From a young age, he displayed an extraordinary curiosity and intelligence. While other kids were playing outside, Musk spent hours reading books, learning about space, and teaching himself to code. He became obsessed with science fiction and technology, often getting lost in books for hours. His love for knowledge was unmatched, and at 12 years old, he created and sold his first software, a video game called Blastar. But despite his brilliance, Musk's childhood was far from easy. He was bullied relentlessly in school, often beaten up and humiliated. One time, a group of boys attacked him so severely that he had to be hospitalized. Yet, instead of letting these experiences break him, he used them as fuel to push himself even further. He knew he was destined for something greater. Even as a teenager, Musk dreamed bigger than most. He wasn't just interested in making money. He wanted to change the world. He believed that the future of humanity depended on three things: the internet, space exploration, and renewable energy. But in South Africa, he felt limited. He knew that if he wanted to make a real impact, he had to get to America, the land of opportunity. At 17, Musk left South Africa with almost nothing, determined to build a new life. He moved to Canada, where he struggled to get by, working low-paying jobs just to survive. He cleaned boilers, shoveled dirt, and even worked on a farm, but he never lost sight of his goals. He later transferred to the University of Pennsylvania, where he studied physics and economics. He believed that understanding these two fields would help him change the world. Even then, Musk wasn't thinking small. He wrote papers predicting the rise of renewable energy, artificial intelligence, and space travel long before they became mainstream topics. He wasn't just a dreamer. He was a man with a plan. After graduating, Musk pursued a PhD in physics at Stanford, but after just 2 days, he realized that academia wouldn't help him achieve his vision. The internet was exploding, and he saw an opportunity to jump in. He dropped out and started his first company, Zip2, a software company that provided business directories and maps for newspapers. It was an uphill battle. Musk worked tirelessly, often sleeping in his office and showering at a local YMCA because he couldn't afford an apartment. Many investors doubted him, but Musk refused to give up. Eventually, Zip2 gained traction and was acquired by Compaq for $307 million. Most people would have taken the money and retired young, but Musk wasn't interested in comfort. Instead, he reinvested nearly all of his money into his next venture, XCOM, an online banking startup. At the time, people thought the idea of digital payments was crazy, but Musk believed that the future of money was online. X.com later became PayPal, which was sold to eBay for $1.5 billion. Now a multi-millionaire, Musk could have lived a life of luxury, but that was never his goal. He was just getting started. With his newfound wealth, Musk turned his attention to space. He had always been fascinated by the idea of making humanity a multiplanetary species, and he believed that the future of civilization depended on colonizing Mars. But there was a problem. Space travel was controlled by government agencies like NASA, and launching rockets was astronomically expensive. Musk decided to take matters into his own hands. In 2002, he founded SpaceX with a mission to make space travel affordable. Once again, people laughed at him. Experts said it was impossible for a private company to build rockets, but Musk ignored the skeptics. The early years of SpaceX were brutal. Musk invested nearly all of his fortune into the company, personally funding the development of rockets. The first 3 launches failed, and SpaceX was on the verge of collapse. Musk was running out of money, and everything was on the line. He had already invested in Tesla, an electric car company that was also struggling. At one point, both companies were weeks away from bankruptcy. Musk had to make a painful decision. He split his remaining money between SpaceX and Tesla, hoping that at least one of them would survive. Then, in 2008, everything changed. SpaceX successfully launched the Falcon 1 rocket, becoming the first private company to reach orbit. Shortly after, NASA awarded SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract, saving the company from collapse. At the same time, Tesla secured crucial funding, allowing it to continue developing electric cars. Against all odds, Musk had pulled off the impossible. Over the next decade, both companies revolutionized their industries. SpaceX developed reusable rockets, drastically reducing the cost of space travel. Tesla made electric cars desirable and forced the entire auto industry to shift towards sustainability. Musk continued pushing boundaries, launching new ventures like Neuralink, which aims to merge the human brain with artificial intelligence, and The Boring Company, which develops underground transportation systems. But despite his success, Musk has never stopped working. He still sleeps in Tesla's factory when production is behind schedule. He still takes massive risks, pouring billions into unproven ideas, and he still faces constant criticism. But that's what separates self-made millionaires from everyone else. They don't let failures stop them. They don't listen to doubters. They keep moving forward no matter how difficult the road ahead. Elon Musk's story teaches us that success isn't about intelligence, luck, or where you come from. It's about perseverance, vision, and the willingness to take massive risks. Musk could have quit after being bullied as a child. He could have quit after sleeping on an office floor. He could have quit after 3 failed rocket launches. But he didn't. He kept going. And today, he's not just one of the richest people in the world. He's shaping the future of humanity. The real question is, what's stopping you? Chapter 2. From Homeless to Billionaire, the story of Howard Schultz. Not all millionaires start with money. Some, like Howard Schultz, begin with nothing but a dream and an unstoppable drive to succeed. Today, Schultz is best known as the man behind Starbucks, a global coffee empire worth billions. But before he built one of the most recognizable brands in the world, he grew up in poverty, faced rejection, and nearly lost everything. His story is a testament to resilience, vision, and the power of believing in yourself when no one else does. Howard Schultz was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1953. His family lived in a public housing complex, barely making ends meet. His father worked low-paying jobs and struggled to support the family. Schultz saw firsthand what financial hardship looked like, and he made a promise to himself: he would build a better life. He was the first in his family to attend college, earning a degree in communications. After graduation, he took a job as a salesman at a small coffee equipment company. One of his clients was a tiny coffee shop in Seattle called Starbucks, which had just a few locations at the time. Schultz was fascinated by the company's focus on high-quality coffee, and he saw a much bigger potential. He knew that coffee wasn't just a drink, it was an experience. In 1982, he convinced Starbucks to hire him as their marketing director. A year later, on a trip to Italy, he had a life-changing moment. Walking through the streets of Milan, he saw coffee culture unlike anything in America. Italian espresso bars were everywhere, bringing people together in a warm, inviting atmosphere. Schultz realized that Starbucks could be more than just a store that sold coffee beans. It could create a community. Excited by his vision, he rushed back to Seattle and pitched the idea of transforming Starbucks into a cafe-style business. But to his shock, the owners rejected his idea. They believed Starbucks should stick to selling coffee beans, not beverages. Schultz was devastated, but he refused to let go of his dream. In true self-made millionaire fashion, he took a huge risk. He left Starbucks and started his own coffee company, Il Giornale. It wasn't easy. Raising money was a struggle. Schultz pitched his idea to over 240 investors, and nearly all of them turned him down. They thought he was crazy for wanting to turn coffee into a luxury experience. But Schultz refused to give up. Eventually, he secured enough funding to launch Il Giornale. The business grew, proving that his vision could work. Then in 1987, a golden opportunity arrived. The original Starbucks owners decided to sell the company. Schultz didn't hesitate. He bought Starbucks for $3.8 million, merged it with Il Giornale, and immediately began expanding. His mission was clear. Starbucks would be America's version of the Italian coffee experience. He focused on creating an inviting atmosphere, premium quality coffee, and customer service that made people feel at home. His leadership transformed Starbucks from a 6-store coffee shop into a global empire with thousands of locations worldwide. But Schultz's journey wasn't without challenges. In 2008, Starbucks was struggling. Sales were down, competition was rising, and many believed the company had lost its magic. Schultz, who had stepped down as CEO years earlier, returned to save the company. He restructured operations, closed underperforming stores, and refocused on quality. His leadership turned things around, proving once again that great entrepreneurs don't just build businesses, they rebuild them when necessary. What can we learn from Howard Schultz's story? First, never let your background define your future. Schultz grew up poor, but he didn't let that stop him from thinking big. No matter where you start, your mindset and determination matter more than your circumstances. Second, believe in your vision. Even when others don't. Schultz was rejected over 240 times by investors, but he kept pushing forward. Most people would have given up. Millionaires persist where others quit. Third, adapt and innovate. Schultz didn't just sell coffee, he created a culture around it. He saw an opportunity where others saw a simple beverage. Successful entrepreneurs don't just follow trends, they create them. Lastly, when challenges arise, step up. In 2008, Starbucks was in trouble. Schultz could have walked away, but instead he took responsibility and led the company back to success. True leaders don't run from problems, they face them head on. Howard Schultz's journey from a poor kid in Brooklyn to a self-made billionaire is proof that success is possible for anyone willing to work for it. His story teaches us that vision, resilience, and bold decision-making are the keys to greatness. In the next chapter, we'll dive into another incredible story of a self-made millionaire who built an empire from scratch. Their path was different, but the lessons are just as powerful. Are you ready to learn more? Chapter 3. The college dropout who built a billion-dollar sports empire, the story of Phil Knight. Some millionaires are born into wealth while others create it from nothing. Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, is one of those who started with an idea, faced countless failures, and built an empire that changed the world of sports forever. His story is about risk-taking, resilience, and the power of believing in your own vision, even when the odds are stacked against you. Phil Knight's journey to success didn't begin with a grand business plan or millions in startup funding. In fact, it started with a simple idea. What if high-quality running shoes could be made cheaper? At the time, brands like Adidas and Puma dominated the sports footwear market, but Knight saw an opportunity to bring something new. Born in 1938, Knight grew up in Oregon and had a passion for running. He attended the University of Oregon, where he ran track under legendary coach Bill Bowerman. Bowerman wasn't just a coach. He was obsessed with improving athletic performance and often experimented with different shoe designs to make runners faster. Knight admired his coach's creativity and drive, but he had no idea that their partnership would one day create a global empire. After college, Knight enrolled in Stanford's MBA program, where he wrote a research paper that changed his life. The paper was based on a simple question: What if American companies could import high-quality, low-cost running shoes from Japan and compete with big brands like Adidas? At the time, Japan was known for producing affordable yet well-made products, and Knight believed the same could apply to sports shoes. He became obsessed with the idea, but he had no money, no connections, and no business experience. Still, he refused to let that stop him. In 1962, he traveled to Japan and met with executives from a small shoe company called Onitsuka Tiger, now known as ASICS. Pretending to be the owner of a non-existent US shoe company, Knight pitched the idea of selling their shoes in America. To his surprise, they agreed. Knight returned home and officially launched his business under the name Blue Ribbon Sports. With a $50 investment from his father, he ordered his first batch of shoes and began selling them out of the trunk of his car at track meets. It was an unconventional start, but every empire starts somewhere. For the first few years, Knight struggled. He worked a full-time accounting job while running his small shoe business on the side. Cash flow was a constant problem. He barely had enough money to keep ordering new inventory, and the banks refused to give him loans. But he didn't give up. Instead, he reinvested every dollar he made back into the business, growing it little by little. Then a turning point came. In 1965, Bill Bowerman, Knight's former track coach, joined the company as a partner. Bowerman wasn't just a great coach, he was an innovator. He started designing his own shoes, testing them on athletes, and improving their performance. One of his early experiments involved pouring rubber into a waffle iron to create a better grip for running shoes. That simple idea led to one of Nike's most famous innovations, the waffle sole. But before Nike became a billion-dollar brand, Knight had to overcome one of his biggest obstacles. In 1971, Onitsuka Tiger, the Japanese company he had been importing shoes from, cut ties with him. Suddenly, he had no product to sell, and his entire business was on the verge of collapsing. Instead of giving up, Knight turned the crisis into an opportunity. He decided it was time to create his own brand, one that he controlled completely. He and his team came up with a new name, Nike, inspired by the Greek goddess of victory. They designed the now iconic swoosh logo, which they paid a graphic design student just $35 to create, and they launched their first official Nike shoe. But success didn't come overnight. Nike struggled for years to gain traction. The company faced legal battles, financial crises, and stiff competition from Adidas. There were times when Knight thought Nike wouldn't survive, but through it all, he stuck to his vision, creating the best athletic shoes in the world. The breakthrough finally came in 1984 when Knight made one of the boldest moves in sports marketing history. He signed a young NBA rookie named Michael Jordan to a sneaker deal. At the time, Jordan wasn't the global icon he is today. He was just a promising young player. But Knight saw potential. Together, they launched the Air Jordan sneaker, and it became an instant sensation. Sales exploded, and Nike went from being a struggling company to a global powerhouse. The Air Jordan line alone would go on to generate billions of dollars over the years. From that moment on, Nike was unstoppable. They continued to innovate, expand into different sports, and dominate the market. Today, Nike is worth over $190 billion, and its Just Do It slogan is one of the most recognizable in the world. So what can we learn from Phil Knight's journey? First, great ideas don't need big money to start. Knight launched his company with just $50 and a vision. And most people think they need investors or huge startup capital to build a business, but Nike started with nothing but determination and smart decision-making. Second, adaptability is key. When Onitsuka Tiger cut him off, Knight could have given up. Instead, he created his own brand and took full control of his business. Many entrepreneurs fail because they rely too much on one supplier, one platform, or one source of income. The real winners adapt when things go wrong. Third, take risks, even when they seem crazy. Signing Michael Jordan in 1984 wasn't an obvious move. At the time, Nike wasn't even a big player in basketball, but Knight saw an opportunity where others didn't, and that single decision changed the company's future. Millionaires don't just follow trends, they create them. Fourth, reinvest everything into growth. Knight didn't take profits in the early years. He put every dollar back into the business. He understood that in order to scale, he needed to prioritize growth over quick profits. Lastly, branding is everything. Nike isn't just a shoe company, it's a lifestyle brand. Their slogan, "Just Do It," represents more than sports. It's about pushing limits, taking action, and striving for greatness. The most successful businesses aren't just selling a product, they're selling an identity. Phil Knight's journey from selling shoes out of his car to building one of the biggest brands in history proves that with the right mindset, smart decisions, and relentless persistence, anything is possible. In the next chapter, we'll dive into another incredible success story of a self-made millionaire. Each of these individuals had a different path, but the principles of success remain the same. Are you ready to learn more? Chapter 4. From sleeping in his office to billionaire, the story of Sam Walton. Building $1 billion empire often means making sacrifices that most people wouldn't dare to make. Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, knew this better than anyone. Before Walmart became the world's largest retailer, Walton endured financial struggles, long hours, and relentless work. His story proves that wealth isn't built overnight. It's created through vision, persistence, and an unstoppable work ethic. Sam Walton was born in 1918 in Oklahoma during the Great Depression. His family struggled financially, and from an early age he understood the value of hard work. As a boy, he delivered newspapers, milked cows, and sold magazine subscriptions to help support his family. This early exposure to business shaped his belief that if you want to succeed, you have to work for it. After serving in the US Army during World War II, Walton used his savings along with a loan from his father-in-law to buy his first retail store, a Ben Franklin variety shop. He didn't invent retail and he didn't start with a revolutionary idea, but what he did next changed the industry forever. Walton studied every aspect of business, from pricing strategies to customer service, and he experimented with new ideas. One of his biggest breakthroughs was cutting prices lower than competitors to attract more customers. While other stores focused on making high profits per item, Walton focused on selling more at lower prices. This strategy worked. Walton's store became the most successful Ben Franklin franchise in the region. But in 1950, after years of hard work, he faced a major setback. His landlord refused to renew his lease and took over his store. Everything he had built was gone. Most people would have quit or started over in another industry, but not Walton. Instead, he took it as a lesson and started again, only bigger. With what little money he had left, Walton bought a new store in Bentonville, Arkansas. He used everything he had learned and built an even better business. Over the next decade, he expanded to several locations, refining his low-cost, high-volume model. He also paid close attention to what customers wanted: convenience, low prices, and good service. Then in 1962, Walton made a bold move that would change retail forever. He opened the first Walmart store in Rogers, Arkansas. His idea was simple: sell everything customers need at the lowest prices possible. At the time, most retailers focused on urban areas, but Walton saw an untapped market: small towns and rural communities. He realized that these areas had customers who wanted great deals just as much as city shoppers. But Walmart's early days were anything but easy. Walton struggled to compete against major retailers, and banks refused to lend him money because they didn't believe in his business model. To keep Walmart running, Walton slept in his office, traveled thousands of miles by car to visit suppliers, and constantly reinvested his profits instead of taking them for himself. While other store owners lived comfortably, Walton drove a beat-up pickup truck and kept expenses low. His sacrifices paid off. By the 1970s, Walmart was expanding at an incredible rate, and Walton perfected a strategy that changed the game: supply chain efficiency. He negotiated directly with manufacturers to cut costs, used computerized inventory tracking to improve efficiency, and built warehouses near stores to reduce transportation expenses. These innovations allowed Walmart to keep prices lower than anyone else, forcing competitors to either adapt or shut down. By the 1980s, Walmart had become the fastest-growing retailer in the US, and by the time Walton passed away in 1992, Walmart had over 1,700 stores and annual sales exceeding $5 billion. Today, Walmart is the largest retailer in the world, with over 10,000 stores and more than $600 billion in revenue a year. What can we learn from Sam Walton's journey? First, hard work and sacrifice are the price of success. Walton was willing to work harder and make more sacrifices than anyone else. He slept in his office, drove long distances to meet suppliers, and reinvested every penny back into the business. He wasn't interested in looking successful. He was interested in being successful. Second, he thought differently from everyone else. While major retailers focused on big cities, Walton built stores in small towns. While competitors tried to maximize profit per item, Walton focused on volume. By challenging industry norms, he created something entirely new. Third, he embraced failure and used it to fuel his comeback. Losing his first store was devastating, but instead of quitting, he used it as motivation to build something even greater. Many people let failures define them, but self-made millionaires see failures as stepping stones. Finally, he built a system, not just a business. Walton understood that a business should run efficiently even without its founder. By developing systems for inventory, pricing, and logistics, Walmart continued to grow even after he was gone. This is the difference between building a job for yourself and building a wealth-generating empire. Sam Walton's journey from a struggling small-town entrepreneur to a billionaire retail legend proves that success isn't about luck. It's about vision, discipline, and relentless execution. His story teaches us that wealth isn't given, it's earned. In the next chapter, we'll explore another incredible self-made millionaire story. Someone who started with nothing and built a business that changed the world. Are you ready to keep learning from the richest? Chapter 5. From Selling Fax Machines to Billionaire. The story of Sarah Blakely. Becoming a self-made millionaire is rare. Becoming a self-made billionaire with no outside investments is even rarer, especially for a woman in an industry dominated by men. But Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, defied the odds and built a billion-dollar empire from scratch. She had no connections, no financial backing, and no prior business experience. What she did have was a simple idea, relentless determination, and the willingness to do what others wouldn't. Sarah's journey started in the most unexpected way. She wasn't born into wealth, nor did she have a fancy degree in business. After college, she worked selling fax machines door to door. It was a grueling job. She was constantly rejected, ignored, and even had doors slammed in her face. But instead of letting the rejection crush her, she used it as training. Every no taught her how to be more persistent, how to handle failure, and how to keep pushing forward despite setbacks. At 27 years old, she had a problem that millions of women could relate to. She wanted to wear white pants, but every type of underwear she tried showed lines. There was no comfortable, invisible shapewear on the market. Instead of complaining, she saw an opportunity. She cut the feet off a pair of pantyhose and realized she had created something revolutionary. Sarah had no background in fashion or manufacturing, but she knew her product had potential. The challenge? She had no idea how to make it a reality. She spent months researching fabrics, calling manufacturers, and trying to convince factories to take her seriously. Almost all of them turned her down. Men ran the industry and they didn't believe women would buy shapewear, but Sarah refused to accept rejection as the final answer. Finally, a manufacturer took a chance on her, not because he believed in the product, but because his daughters told him it was a great idea. That was all Sarah needed. With just $5,000 in savings, she launched Spanx. Unlike most startups, she didn't have a huge marketing budget. Instead, she personally demonstrated the product to women, pitched it to stores, and handled every detail of the business herself. Her big break came when she convinced Neiman Marcus, a high-end department store, to sell Spanx. But even then, she faced an uphill battle. Retailers weren't excited about shapewear, and the product wasn't moving. So Sarah got creative. She started personally standing in stores, showing customers how Spanx worked, and even going into fitting rooms with them to prove its effectiveness. Slowly, word spread, and Spanx started gaining popularity. Then something incredible happened. Oprah Winfrey named Spanx one of her favorite things. Overnight, sales exploded. Sarah's product became a sensation, and Spanx was no longer just a small business, it was a national brand. But Sarah didn't stop there. She continued innovating, expanding Spanx into leggings, bras, and activewear. She stayed debt-free, never took outside investors, and retained full control of her company. In 2012, she became the youngest self-made female billionaire in history when Forbes estimated Spanx's value at over $1 billion. What can we learn from Sarah Blakely's story? First, success doesn't require experience, it requires action. Sarah had no background in fashion, business, or marketing, but she figured it out as she went. Too many people wait until they know enough to start. Millionaires take action before they feel ready. Second, persistence beats rejection. If Sarah had given up after the first manufacturer said no, Spanx wouldn't exist. If she had accepted that department stores weren't interested, she wouldn't be a billionaire today. The difference between success and failure is how many times you're willing to try again. Third, believe in your product more than anyone else. Sarah wasn't afraid to personally sell Spanx, talk to customers, and prove its value. She did the work others wouldn't. Too many entrepreneurs expect their product to sell itself. Self-made millionaires hustle harder than anyone else. Lastly, owning your business is the ultimate power move. Unlike many entrepreneurs who sell pieces of their companies early, Sarah kept 100% ownership. That decision made her a billionaire. The more control you have over your business, the bigger your long-term success can be. Sarah Blakely's journey from a door-to-door fax machine saleswoman to a billionaire entrepreneur is proof that success isn't about where you start. It's about how hard you're willing to work for your dreams. In the next chapter, we'll explore another incredible story of a self-made millionaire who turned an idea into an empire. Every journey is different, but the lessons remain the same. Are you ready to learn more? Chapter 6, From Single Mom to Media Mogul, the story of Oprah Winfrey. Success isn't just about money, it's about impact. Few people embody this truth better than Oprah Winfrey, a self-made billionaire who turned her struggles into strength and built one of the most influential media empires in history. Her journey is one of resilience, self-belief, and the power of never giving up, no matter how many obstacles stand in your way. Oprah's life began far from wealth or privilege. She was born in rural Mississippi in 1954 to a teenage single mother who struggled to make ends meet. Raised in poverty, Oprah faced unimaginable hardships, including abuse and discrimination. As a young girl, she bounced between different homes, often feeling unwanted and out of place. But despite her circumstances, she had one thing that no one could take away: her voice. She found her escape in storytelling and education. In school, she was a bright student with a natural talent for speaking. She won a scholarship to Tennessee State University and got her first job in radio at just 17 years old. Her confidence and ability to connect with people quickly set her apart. Soon she moved to television, becoming the first black female news anchor at a station in Nashville. But her path to success wasn't smooth. When she transitioned into hosting a talk show in Baltimore, she was fired for being too emotional on air. Instead of giving up, she turned what others saw as a weakness into her greatest strength. She realized that people didn't just want news, they wanted connection. She wasn't just reporting stories, she was making people feel seen, heard, and understood. Her breakthrough came in 1984 when she was offered a role hosting a struggling morning talk show in Chicago. In just a few months, Oprah took the show from last place in the ratings to number one. Audiences connected with her in a way they never had with any other host. She was authentic, vulnerable, and willing to tackle difficult topics. She wasn't just entertaining people, she was changing lives. This success led to The Oprah Winfrey Show, which became the highest-rated talk show in television history. But Oprah wasn't just satisfied with being in front of the camera, she wanted to own her work. While most TV personalities were employees, she took control of her career by starting her own production company, Harpo Productions. This move was groundbreaking. By owning her own company, Oprah controlled the rights to her show, her brand, and her future. She wasn't just a talk show host, she was a businesswoman, producer, and media mogul. This decision allowed her to build a billion-dollar empire on her own terms. But Oprah's empire didn't stop at television. She launched the Oprah magazine, co-founded the O Network, produced movies, and became one of the most powerful figures in media. Every venture she took on had the same goal: to uplift, inspire, and empower people. Lessons from Oprah Winfrey's story. One of the biggest lessons from Oprah's story is that your past does not define your future. She could have let her difficult childhood hold her back, but instead she used it as fuel to create a better life. Another lesson is that authenticity is a superpower. Oprah succeeded because she was real. She didn't try to fit into a mold. She created her own. She showed the world that success isn't about being perfect. It's about being true to yourself. Oprah also understood the power of ownership. Many entertainers make millions, but very few own their content. By starting Harpo Productions, she turned her talk show into an asset, ensuring that she controlled its success. This is one of the biggest reasons she became a billionaire, while others remained employees. Lastly, Oprah's story teaches us that giving back is the ultimate success. She has donated hundreds of millions to education, built schools in Africa, and helped countless people through her philanthropy. She once said, "To move forward, you have to give back." Her impact goes beyond wealth. She has changed lives. Oprah Winfrey's journey from a poor girl in Mississippi to a self-made billionaire is one of the most inspiring stories of all time. She didn't just break barriers, she shattered them. She didn't just succeed, she changed the world. In the next chapter, we'll look at another self-made millionaire who defied the odds and built their own path to success. Every journey is different, but the lessons remain the same. Believe in yourself, take control of your future, and never stop pushing forward. Chapter 7. The Beauty Mogul Who Changed an Industry, the story of Rihanna. Most people know Rihanna as a global music icon, but what many don't realize is that she's also a self-made billionaire entrepreneur who revolutionized the beauty and fashion industries. From humble beginnings in Barbados to building Fenty Beauty and Savage X Fenty, Rihanna's journey proves that success comes from vision, innovation, and an unstoppable work ethic. Born Robin Rihanna Fenty in 1988, she grew up in a modest home in Barbados. Her childhood wasn't easy. Her father struggled with addiction, and her parents' rocky marriage led to emotional stress. But even as a young girl, Rihanna dreamed big. She loved music, fashion, and expressing herself creatively. At just 16 years old, she was discovered by a record producer and moved to the United States to pursue a music career. Her debut single, Pon de Replay, became an instant hit, and by the time she was in her early 20s, Rihanna was one of the biggest pop stars in the world. But unlike many artists who rely solely on their music careers, Rihanna saw a much bigger picture. She understood that true wealth comes from ownership, not just talent. Instead of simply endorsing products for other brands, Rihanna decided to create her own empire. In 2017, she launched Fenty Beauty, a cosmetics line that changed the beauty industry forever. While most makeup brands catered primarily to lighter skin tones, Rihanna saw a massive gap in the market. Women of color were being ignored. She released 40 foundation shades, later expanded to 50 plus, making makeup truly inclusive for all skin tones. The response was immediate. Fenty Beauty generated $100 million in sales in its first 40 days. But Rihanna didn't stop there. She expanded her empire by launching Savage X Fenty, a lingerie brand designed to celebrate all body types. Just like with her makeup line, she saw that the fashion industry lacked diversity and inclusivity. Savage X Fenty offered lingerie for all shapes and sizes, and instead of using only traditional supermodels, she featured real women with different body types, ethnicities, and backgrounds. The brand became a huge success, challenging industry norms and competing directly with Victoria's Secret. Her business moves have been strategic and groundbreaking. Instead of just creating products, Rihanna built brands with a message, resonating with millions of people. She used social media, influencer marketing, and bold branding to turn her businesses into billion-dollar companies. In 2021, Forbes officially declared Rihanna a billionaire, with a net worth exceeding $1.7 billion, most of it coming from her beauty and fashion empire, not music. She became the richest female musician in the world, not because of album sales, but because she took control of her brand and built businesses that solve real problems. What can we learn from Rihanna's story? First, identify a gap in the market. Rihanna saw that women of color were being ignored by beauty brands, so she created what was missing. If you can solve a problem that no one else is addressing, you can build a massively successful business. Second, own your brand. Instead of simply promoting other companies' products, Rihanna built her own businesses and kept control. Real wealth comes from ownership, whether it's a company, real estate, or investments. Third, be bold and take risks. Rihanna wasn't afraid to challenge the beauty and fashion industries. She took risks, broke traditional rules, and set new standards for inclusivity. If you want to succeed, you have to be willing to do things differently. Finally, don't limit yourself to one path. Rihanna could have been just a musician, but she thought bigger. You don't have to stick to one industry. Diversify your skills, expand your brand, and look for new opportunities. Rihanna's journey from a small island in Barbados to self-made billionaire is proof that success is not about where you start, but how you think, work, and innovate. She didn't wait for opportunities, she created them. In the next chapter, we'll dive into another powerful self-made success story, one that will inspire you to keep pushing toward your own financial freedom. Are you ready to learn more? Chapter 8. From college janitor to tech millionaire, the story of David Goggins. Success isn't about where you start, it's about how much you're willing to endure to reach your goals. Some millionaires inherit wealth, while others build it from scratch. Then there's David Goggins, a man who didn't just build a fortune, he built himself into one of the toughest men alive. He went from an overweight, broke janitor to a Navy SEAL, best-selling author, endurance athlete, and self-made millionaire. His journey is proof that discipline, mindset, and relentless drive can take you from rock bottom to financial freedom. David Goggins didn't have an easy start. He grew up in a violent household, struggling with poverty, racism, and low self-esteem. His father was abusive, and his family was barely making ends meet. School was tough, and by his early 20s, he found himself working as a janitor, spraying cockroaches in restaurants and living paycheck to paycheck. He spent his nights scrubbing floors, covered in dirt and sweat, wondering if this was all life had to offer. His biggest fear? That he would wake up one day at 50 years old, realizing he had wasted his potential. One morning, while flipping through TV channels, he stumbled upon a documentary about Navy SEALs, some of the toughest warriors on the planet. Something inside him clicked. He realized that he had spent his whole life running from discomfort, and if he wanted to change his future, he had to start embracing pain. But there was one problem. He weighed nearly 300 pounds, and the Navy SEALs had a strict weight limit. To even qualify, he had to lose 106 pounds in 3 months. Most people would have quit before even starting, but Goggins wasn't most people. He woke up every day at 4 a.m., ran miles in the freezing cold, worked out for hours, and followed an extreme diet. At first, his body resisted, his lungs burned, his legs ached, and his mind begged him to stop. But every time he wanted to quit, he reminded himself why he started. He pushed through the pain, and slowly but surely, the weight dropped. After multiple failed attempts, Goggins finally passed SEAL training, one of the most brutal programs in the world. It was a defining moment in his life. But he wasn't done yet. After becoming a Navy SEAL, Goggins set out to break records. He became an ultramarathon runner, completing races that stretched over 200 miles non-stop. He broke the world record for pull-ups, doing 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours. He even trained his mind to endure freezing temperatures, high altitudes, and extreme pain, all because he wanted to prove that the mind is more powerful than the body. But here's where his millionaire journey truly began. He turned his life story into a business. Goggins wrote a best-selling book, Can't Hurt Me, which has sold millions of copies worldwide. He built an empire through speaking engagements, consulting, and online courses, where he teaches people how to develop mental toughness and overcome obstacles. His book alone has generated tens of millions of dollars, and his brand continues to grow as one of the most sought-after motivational speakers in the world. Unlike traditional millionaires who build businesses in tech or finance, Goggins built his wealth by mastering his mindset and sharing his journey. People pay thousands of dollars to hear him speak, learn from his experiences, and apply his lessons to their own lives. He proved that you don't need a perfect background, college degree, or connections to become successful. You need discipline, perseverance, and a relentless refusal to quit. So, what can we learn from David Goggins? First, your past doesn't define you. He went from a janitor to a millionaire because he changed his mindset. Most people make excuses. Goggins made a plan. He took responsibility for his life instead of blaming his circumstances. Second, discipline is everything. He didn't rely on motivation. He relied on daily habits and relentless effort. He worked through pain, exhaustion, and doubt because he knew that success isn't supposed to be easy. Third, adversity is an advantage. Most people avoid pain and failure, but Goggins embraced them. His struggles made him stronger, and that strength led to financial success. Fourth, turn your story into a brand. Goggins realized that his journey wasn't just personal, it was valuable. People wanted to hear how he transformed his life, and he turned that demand into a business. If you have a powerful story or a unique skill, there's a way to monetize it. Lastly, success is about mindset, not money. Goggins didn't set out to be a millionaire, he set out to conquer his own mind. The money followed because he built something that inspired millions of people. Final thoughts, your journey starts now. David Goggins proves that success isn't about talent, it's about how much pain you're willing to endure to get where you want to be. He transformed himself from a struggling janitor into one of the toughest men alive, and in the process built a fortune doing what he loves. Now it's your turn. The road to success isn't easy. You will face obstacles, you will doubt yourself, you will hear people tell you it's impossible. But if there's one thing we've learned from these stories, it's that the only way to fail is to stop trying. Every millionaire you read about in this book started as an ordinary person. They weren't born into success, they created it, and so can you. The question is, how bad do you want it? Your journey starts now. Throughout this book, we've explored the incredible journeys of self-made millionaires, people who started from nothing and built their way to the top. Each of them faced challenges, failures, and doubts, but what set them apart was their refusal to quit. Now it's your turn. The road to success isn't easy. You will face obstacles. You will doubt yourself. You will hear people tell you it's impossible. But if there's one thing we've learned from these stories, it's that the only way to fail is to stop trying. Every millionaire you read about in this book started as an ordinary person. They weren't born into success. They created it, and so can you. The question is, how bad do you want it? If you're serious about success, start now. Take action. Learn. Fail. Get up. Try again. Stay disciplined, because your success story is waiting to be written. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to learn from the richest success stories of the self-made millionaires. If you found this audiobook valuable, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you never miss out on new success stories and business insights. Your support helps us continue creating content that inspires and educates aspiring entrepreneurs like you. Now go out there, take what you've learned, and start building the life you've always dreamed of. Your journey to success begins today.